Welcome everybody. Welcome to the third episode for 2026 for Brownsville Tech Live. And in the house tonight, we've got Mr. Joseph Lucio, who is currently running for Cameron County Commissioner, Precinct number 2. Mr. Lucio, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mr. Salinas, thank you so much for the opportunity and give me a call. I'm really excited for today's podcast.
It's great to have you, sir. It's nice to see new faces running for political office. We definitely need some new blood.
Thank you, sir. And I've been hearing that a lot more often for sure.
Well, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, where you were born, what schools you went to, what you've done in your professional life? Um, I think you look a little familiar. Somewhere I've seen that face before. So go ahead, tell
Sure,
us a little bit
sure.
about
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely. So I was born and raised here in Brownsville, Texas, 1990. I'm 35 years old. I, my very first memories growing up here in Brownsville started out at our family business, which is Fort Brown Memorial Golf Course. We're not open anymore, but that was our family business that my mom and dad ran for many, many years. And then they took it over right before I was born, 89, 88. And so I pretty much grew up on that golf course and in that environment. I went to public school my whole life. Started at Burns Elementary in Alton Glore, went over to Vela Middle School, and then right after that, I graduated from Hannah High School, class 2007. And from there, thought about where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, so many options. But it always went back to our family business and wanting to continue that legacy of running that golf course and that life. And so I wanted to go to business school, right? Get my business management degree. And so I actually went to the University of Texas at Brownsville, UTBTSC. They're not around anymore, right? But I'm a scorpion, sting 'em. That was pretty much, for 4 years, I played on a golf scholarship there actually.
Ah,
And after I spent 5 years in college, and after that, I was able to get my degree in business management and applied business technologies. And that was the plan, right? We're gonna go straight to the course, work our small business, and continue to grow. And life had different plans for me. um, Shifting over from golf towards the right around when I was 21, 22, I was enjoying business, but I started to really look around at the people around me that I really respected, and there was something that I noticed that they were doing that I wasn't. Community service, volunteering, whether it was in the military, whether extra work they did at church after hours. I was starting to see that in the people that I respected, and I kind of thought about myself, and I say, I haven't really done that yet. I haven't done that, and I think that's something that's super important, which we'll talk about a little bit about my worldview here in a second, but I said to myself, you know what? I need to do something about that. And I was looking around at different options at the time. And what I found that worked out for me was the Texas State Guard. And so I joined the Texas State Guard. I spent almost 10 years. I'm not in it anymore, but I did serve in the State Guard for almost a decade, for 9 years. And this Texas State Guard, for those who don't know, is one of the three branches of the Texas Military Department here in Texas. We have three different branches. It's the Texas National Guard, Texas Air Guard, and then Texas State Guard. And the main difference is that the Texas State Guard, we're not an armed force, but our primary role is to respond to and to help Texans in different types of disasters across the whole state, whether it's us manning shelters or search and rescues, uh, you know, providing security for different types of things. And then we're also part of community events too that happen. One of the popular ones here is actually It's called Operation Border Health, formerly Operation Lone Star, where we provide free health services across this, South Texas, and Texas State Guard plays a huge role in that. So community service started there for me, and as time went on, I continued to be a part of that. And unfortunately, the border wall came, right? And the border wall came, and what it did was put Fort Brown Memorial Golf Course on the other side. And basically, what that did was, after a few years, it just gave us a really bad rap because the majority of our income came from Winter Texans, actually. And they just stopped coming because they didn't feel safe, right? And rightfully so. We get it. So from there, I took multiple opportunities. I continued to serve in the Texas State Guard. I was able to find employment at Cameron County, and I worked at Cameron County Public Health for almost 2 years in their public health emergency preparedness program. And that's where I really started to learn the foundation of what Cameron County is and all the different programs that make up Cameron County and how the system works. And so that was kind of my introduction to that. And now I currently work for the Department of State Health Services, where we serve 19 counties across South Texas, and doing the same thing, public health, emergency preparedness. We are essentially emergency managers for public health for our region, and we work with all the same stakeholders, first responders for that. So that's kind of been that was a snapshot of a quick journey of where I started, where I am now. I'm also married to my beautiful wife, Elisa, my wife Elisa, and I have two kids as well, both 5 and 4 years old, and taking care of the family and enjoying that very, very much. And so that was kind of a snapshot. There's been so many things that have happened between that. But that's kind of where, I was born and raised here. I'm still here, and I'm raising my kids here too. And that's part of my motivation to continue to keep this community, thriving.
Well, definitely, it's good to have somebody that's local, that's was born and raised here. I myself was born and raised here. Um, Left right after college. I mean, right after high school. Had no plans of coming back, obviously, but somehow, as you say, life gives you different directions, and I
Yes.
managed to come back, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah.
And of course, I got married, children, you know, all of the above, and it's a great place to live. Obviously now, right? So
Yes,
tell
sir.
us a little bit about one of the reasons you decided to run for
Absolutely.
Cameron County Commissioner Precinct 2.
Yeah, so you know, again, working, and this is, I think when everyone steps up to run for a position in politics, there's the positive part that motivates you because you want to do the right thing. But I think almost everybody has something that has bothered them that they've ran into something and say, "Hey, we need to work on this," right? I've worked for the government essentially and worked with government entities for the past 10 years and not at the highest level, right? And in the middle of the org chart. And I continue to see where we have gaps when it comes to our employees, the staff, the type of leadership that we have. I continue to see where we can do better. And matter of fact, part of the job that I do currently where I work is I write after action reports and improvement plans every month for any project that we had, for any incident that we have. That's part of what I do, and that's part of what I'm going to continue to do. But to answer your question as to why, it goes back to me just wanting to improve, right? I I, I want to take that experience that I've had. I want to apply it here in this position because sometimes we know, and this is just a fact, there's only so much change that you can make by sending memos up the chain, right? There's only so much change that we can make by, advocating and speaking. Sometimes when you want to make a change, you need to put yourself in a position to make that change for as many people as we can. And so I want to continue to serve Cameron County. Right now, I'm serving 19 counties in South Texas. I want to, I appreciate all those counties and all the people who live there, but this is my home. I want to bring that service back home to where I live, to where I was raised, and to where I'm raising my kids to. And so that's important to me is to bring it here back home.
What do you think some of the pressing issues are that we currently have, not just in Precinct 2, but across the county?
I've been doing some block walking. I've been on the phone a lot, talking to a lot of folks. I think right now there's a lot of positives that are happening, and that's great. And I want to continue that. We have massive, economical growth that is taking place right now in Cameron County and Brownsville. But right now, what I'm hearing a lot of is that people want more transparency. And when I say transparency, they want more communication. They want to see exactly how we make our decisions, right? And they don't just want that, they want us to be accountable and they want us to show up, right? I I want us to have more town halls. I want to be an truly accessible leader. And I know there's thousands of people here in Cameron County, and if I got thousands of phone calls, that'd be really hard to show up to everybody's door. But we have to. It's our duty. It's our responsibility to be able to show up for these people as often as we can and just show them what we're working on, what we're doing. I think that's one of the issues that a lot of people are frustrated with. You know, there has been some issues that happened lately that people are disappointed about, and all goes back to transparency. It goes back to open communication. That's huge. That's important, right? That's really important. And I'm not going to go too much in the issue, but I do want to bring one of those up. I need to give you an example, right? One of those examples for me recently was how the Chapel by the Sea was handled. Now, are you familiar with that case, Mr. Salinas?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so there's a lot that goes into that issue, but to me, what's important, and this is one out of many, right? But if you have plans for that area for economic growth, right, to build, and you have people that are there, you have real people like you and I, and that's a church too. You need to open that communication. It needs to start with a conversation like you and I are having right now. You shouldn't be blindsided by something like that. You shouldn't be surprised. The community shouldn't be surprised that something like that has happened. Those are the type of issues that I've seen that we need to improve on and that I'm not very happy about myself. And that's the type of leadership that and kind of communication that I want to fix going forward. I don't want these things to happen. And that's really important for people to, to know. If something major like that's going to happen, we have to have those town halls. We need to sit down with with the leaders of that community. We need to have open conversations with them, period. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, you've got a good point, and I know that that was one example that obviously was a sore spot, but there was also another example that was really astonishing to me. It is no secret that my show is followed by the majority of SpaceX employees and followers. It is my largest following. And one of the things that happened over the last few months is they got their water supplies cut off with no notice whatsoever. Calls were ignored. There's people out there that had no water for several days. And after what hit the roof, their water got restored. Now, my problem with that was that for 30, 40 years, those people down at Boca Chica Village had been getting water from the county for years.
Hmm.
So what changed?
Hmm.
Um, did we feel that the responsibility now fell upon SpaceX since they were incorporated into a city? Maybe, but you just don't cut off a necessity such as water, right? And that was, and I get it. And that's not really part of the district that you're running in. It is another commissioner's district. But to this day, the individuals down at Starbase have never gotten a response from their elected officials. And, it's something that I agree with you that we need to improve overall, you know? So, uh, it's transparency is important, but I believe also accessibility is important. Can you at least, I'm not going to ask you to promise, I'm going to ask you to try to be accessible, because a lot of our commissioners are not, you know.
Right. And so to answer your previous question, and yes, it's out of the precinct that I'm running in, but I think it goes back to exactly what I said. There needs to be open line of communication constantly. And for me personally, if I'm your next Cameron County Commissioner for Precinct 2 and something happens in Precinct 2, you're you should be able to access me very quickly, and I should be able to respond to you in an incident like that or an issue like that really quickly. I don't need to wait on anybody like that. I don't need to be waiting for permission, let's put it that way, to respond to y'all. I have a responsibility to the people of Precinct 2 and for all of Cameron County too, but for Precinct 2 specifically as well, to be able to be open and accessible at all times. That's something that has bothered me for a while now, and that's one of the issues that I keep hearing about that we need to improve on in Cameron County. Period.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. We do these interviews with our candidates just about every election cycle, and I've been pretty lucky to get most of the interviews in town. But there are a few candidates that, believe it or not, for whatever reason, don't want to show up. They don't want to answer questions,
Yeah.
And what's kind of funny is that I'm the easiest interviewer out of all of them. So it kind of mind boggles me, right? But, accessibility is important. Obviously, with accessibility, there's also transparency that's
Yes, sir.
important, especially when it comes to critical issues like water, right? Nobody should have to weaponize water for political reasons whatsoever. So um, we talked a little bit about um, economic growth, and obviously there's a lot of economic growth going on. I wanted to kind of flip over to our virtual screen for a little bit,
Sure.
and I'll go ahead and power up my virtual iPad for a second, and give me a second here while I. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I have to start AirPlay. It won't work without that. Right. Okay. Oh, not the playoffs.
That's another podcast.
Right? That's another podcast. That's one of my other podcasts. Sorry. Not the
No
playoffs.
worries. No worries.
All right. So basically, as we talked about, there's been a lot of economic growth, and obviously in the eastern end of the county. And this is a picture of what is now Starbase. This was back in 2018. There was nothing out there. Maybe a house, a trailer, but not a whole lot.
Mhm.
Not a whole lot. What has transpired since 2018 is that right now, SpaceX employs close to 3,000 employees, maybe a little bit more. There's plans to increase employment up to 8,000. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of economic growth with regards to that, directly and indirectly. In fact, one of the articles that I was reading today said that SpaceX has directly and indirectly created over 25,000 jobs in the state of Texas. So there's definitely a lot of growth, but obviously
Mhm.
there's concerns with that. And I get it. Everybody wants access to the beach. They've always known. Um, they want clean water, clean air.
Yeah.
Um, and those are valid concerns, but I think that there has to be a balance between the needs of business and, of course, the public in general.
Yes.
What's your take on this economic growth?
So, Mr. Salinas, you hit the word that I've been talking about so much, which is balance. So, for me, in economic growth here in Cameron County, it needs to be a responsible growth. Okay. Now, when I say responsible growth, there needs to be that balance between the growth of Starbase or LNG and all these other, massive economical drivers here in Cameron County and our environment. Because I am concerned about our environment. I do want to take care of it. And we have to also make sure that as we're growing really quickly, whether it's at Starbase or whether it's Browns or whatever it might be, that we can keep that our infrastructure can actually keep up with that growth, right? And that's one of the concerns that I have is that we're growing so fast that our infrastructure is not keeping up with that growth. And what I mean by that is, you go back to looking at, you know, um, our drainage that we have for Cameron County, right? It it's one of those things that we can't catch up. We're not catching up to it. And so that's the only concern that I have is that we need to find a balance between that because at the end of the day, my dad took me to the jetties when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. My grandpa used to take him out when he was a kid, and that's where they used to be, fish out in the beach and fish out in the jetties, spend nights out there and camp, right? Those memories are important to me, and it's important that we give people the opportunity to still create those memories. And so I think that there needs to be a true balance between me being an advocate for the people of Cameron County to continue to have access to that beach as much as possible and continue to let SpaceX grow, still have their launches, do what they need to do. Because and I'll be honest with you, I'm a little torn between both. I'll give you my honest, open opinion about SpaceX. I love space. Ever since I was a kid, I dream about space. Um, I think that space travel is quite amazing, and I think that us as people and human beings that we're pathfinders by heart, and we want to continue to explore, and we want to continue to learn and grow, and that's part of what they're doing, right? But we should not destroy our home in the process, right? We can't destroy our home in the process. It's not worth it. We got to do this in a responsible way. And so we have to make sure that we're working closely with these folks, but also that everyone's staying compliant. The EP, with the EPA or the TCEQ, all those folks, we have to make sure we're working closely with them and that we're still keeping our beautiful Cameron County beautiful as best as we can.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things is obviously that centers around communication, you know, uh, and communication does not mean, and, I'm one of the most passionate people when it comes to SpaceX. I'll be honest with you, I'm a 100% supporter and I don't apologize for it, right? Um, but one of the things that I think is counterproductive and has been counterproductive and has been some of the actions that have been taken by some groups locally. The very first thing somebody did is they spray painted a mural downtown and they said, F you, SpaceX, right? They went and vandalized somebody's fence and
Yeah.
disparaged the mayor at the time and Elon Musk and SpaceX.
Yes.
And, surprisingly, nobody's chained themselves to the launch pad, like
Yeah.
they used to do in the 1980s, right? Some of the
Sure. Sure.
environmentalists did. But
Sure.
that's not the kind of responsible action that people should take. I've always said if you want a seat at the table, you got to act like an adult, right? And so, but I
Okay.
get it. I mean, I get it. I get the concern. We all want, I don't think there's any Republican or Democrat that wants a dirty beach.
Right.
I don't think you'll find one, and
It's not
so
it's not good for anybody. I mean,
it's
that's
not
not
good
good.
for
We
anybody.
have a lot of ecotourism. I mean, we have a lot of folks that are traveling to come and just visit us. I mean, the birders alone, there's so many folks who enjoy coming here for scenery, for environment, and for what we have here. And that's something that I would like to keep.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about, let me get over to, let's see here. Give me a second. Um, give me a second here. Oh, that's the iPad. I could just turn off the iPad. That's a good question. How in the world am I going to turn that thing off? Okay. No, that's another topic. One of the things that happened, obviously, since we're on the topic of growth, is that today we had a visit, or yesterday, we had a visit by the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth,
Hmm.
and he was on an Arsenal of Freedom tour. And for those wondering where that phrase came from, it actually came about due to a Star Trek Next Generation episode that a lot of people don't know about. So, unless you're a
More of a Star Wars
Trekkie,
guy here. I'm sorry. Unapologetic there.
unless you're a Trekkie, you wouldn't know that that's where it came from. So, it's interesting to know that the Secretary of Defense is actually a Trekkie. So, uh, but obviously, he was in town touring the facility. So was some of our congressional leadership, as well as Elon Musk, and of course the thousands of employees down there. And one of the things that they announced is an over 700 million defense contract specifically for SpaceX. Um, so that what that means for Starbase, I'm not necessarily sure. But obviously, as you know, Starbase headquarters is actually here at Starbase, and all of your research and development is here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, one of the things that I used to hear about back, many years ago, especially from some of the people that were anti SpaceX, was that they always thought that SpaceX was going to cut and run and leave, right? You heard that before.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
obviously, that's not the case. And, a lot of things have changed, right? When SpaceX came about back in 2014, the business conditions were obviously different. The focus was on Falcon 9. Starship
Mhm.
wasn't even on the radar at the time. In fact, nobody imagined that they would get to a point that they're that large as they are today.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's going to be pretty positive, I think, for the area because, as I was telling somebody earlier, some people locally are very concerned about our little slice of heaven. But there is a bigger picture out there that the work being done here is not just to send people back to the moon or to Mars. There's
Mhm.
national security implications, obviously now more than ever,
Mhm.
right? Because our enemies are a heartbeat away from beating us to the moon again, right?
Mhm.
And so a lot of times we don't think about that. We do think about the local issues, but there's national implications. Now I want to play a video real quick. Let me see if I could find it. Let me go back to my iPad here. Yeah. This was to this was yesterday. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Can you hear it?
This is a city, it's actually legally a city, that thanks to the hard work of the SpaceX team, we built out of nothing, and is now a gigantic rocket manufacturing system. So, and for people out there who are curious to see it, we're actually on a public highway, so you can come and visit and drive down the road and see the epic hardware. So, I think this is the first time that a rocket development program has actually been on a public highway. So you can come and see the epic stuff. We're honored today to have the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and much of the senior leadership of the Pentagon here. It's an honor to have them visit. We just did a tour of the factory, and I think it really helps illustrate how manufacturing and manufacturing at scale is critical to the strength of America. So, and I'll tell you a little bit just about the purpose of SpaceX. It's like we want to make Star Trek real, okay? We want to make Starfleet Academy real, so that it's not always science fiction, but one day the science fiction turns to science fact. And we have spaceships going through space, big spaceships, with people going to other planets, going to the moon, and ultimately going beyond our star system to other star systems where we may meet aliens.
It's incredible to hear that, to make science fiction science fact, you know. What makes you, for me, it's awe to know that our workforce, because 80% of the people that work down at Starbase are local. They're local. They are building the machines that are going to take us back to the moon. It says a lot about our people. It says a lot about their work ethic. It says a lot about the fact that they are exceptional. It's amazing. How can we continue to keep ourselves on the map and to show not only the rest of the nation, but the world, that we can build anything? We can build anything from widgets to multiplanetary rockets. Today, you know, people are they're not making $725 an hour like they used to. You know, back when I graduated from high school, I'm a lot older than you are, the only options we had after high school was college or the military, if you wanted to get away.
Right, right.
We didn't have the opportunities that a lot of people have today, because you don't even have to go to college today. There are people right now working at Starbase with nothing but a trade
Trade
and
schools.
they're making $35 an hour or more.
Yep.
What can we
Absolutely.
continue to keep that going?
So, real quick before I answer that, something I kind of wanted to mention, looking at that video and, we're looking at Elon, looking at Hegseth, something that I think that the mission of SpaceX is a mission that I thought was an incredible, that I think is an incredible mission. Okay. Now, the issues surrounding, Elon Musk or Hegseth at the federal level and other things that are happening, I don't agree with. And I think it's important that I put that out there. There's a lot
Right.
of things going on that they have put out that I don't think have been great. SpaceX itself, that's a mission that I've always thought was quite incredible and that I want to continue to support as best as we can because again, here in Cameron County, it's a huge driver. It's a huge economical driver. You already said that. I mean, most of the folks, here are employed by SpaceX, and so those are regular people who go back home. They're supporting their families, and they're making a living, right? And that's important. That's important, so we can all get by, because it's not the easiest times right now. And so that's one of the things I just wanted to make sure that, for everyone out there, they get to know me a little bit more and my viewers. There's a lot of other issues, and I think that people have issues dividing those two, right? It's that, SpaceX, a lot of people got upset for SpaceX because of Elon and other decisions that he's made at the federal level, right? And the partnerships that he's made. And so that went over to SpaceX and that affected that. And I'm trying to look at things in a way that, I'm trying to look at things in a way that benefits as many people as we can across the board, the people, our world, our environment. And so again, it goes back to what you said. It goes back to balance. And so I don't agree with everything that, Mr. Musk has said, and I don't agree with a lot of things that Mr. Hegseth has said.
Right.
And I think that's important for people to know. But the mission of SpaceX and what it's doing here, I think it's something that we need to again responsibly continue to grow here in Cameron County.
Yeah. And, as somebody who um, has been following SpaceX for a long time, not just SpaceX, but Elon Musk, and obviously throughout his time, because my area is the high tech industry. I've worked in high tech for 35 years. So I've followed a lot of these guys around since then. And there are definitely things that could have been done differently. I don't necessarily agree with some of the things that happened at Twitter, obviously. Um, there are better ways to have handled that. Same thing with the um, Doge effort, during the start of the administration. Um, there are things that could have been done differently.
I agree.
So I get what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying, and I know sometimes a lot of people have mistaken that, said I'm just lock, stock, and barrel, you know, and sometimes they'll even say I'm blind, you know, but
Yeah.
uh, but that's not the case. I do recognize, so there's been a lot of missteps along the way. Some things could have been handled a little bit differently,
Hmm.
and I hope they do. And I think they've gotten better. I think everyone has learned a little bit, including Elon himself. Right? There's only so much you can say before it starts affecting you, especially your stock.
Sure. Sure.
You know, so you know, definitely, economic growth is important. Obviously, LNG is another economic driver here, right? You go down Highway 48, you see these massive, monstrous things being built,
Right.
um, which kind of leads me to another area. And I spoke a little bit about this last night in my interview with the county judge, because it is a topic. It is becoming a hot topic, not just here locally, but also in the country in general. And there's this quest for attracting AI data centers.
Mm.
And I had the privilege of interviewing McAllen Mayor Javier Villalobos about 2 months ago. And around that time, they actually announced the opening of a small operation down at the Newhouse Tower, the
Hmm.
old Chase Tower. And it's a data center. It's nowhere near what we recently heard, but the city of Harlingen recently announced, and I'm not sure if it's been confirmed, but apparently they're allocating up to 1,800 acres or so to attract a data center,
Hmm.
an AI data center. And there's a lot of controversy with data centers in general. the value that they bring to a community, especially employment numbers. You've heard the stories. Some people say, they're only going to hire 30 people.
Right.
Others say it's going to be a little bit more. But as someone who's worked in the high tech industry, um, I think the number's somewhere in between.
Hmm.
But one thing I can tell you, which is true, is that there's a lot of demand with those data centers for electricity and for water. And as you know, those are two precious resources that we in the state of Texas don't have. It was 2.5 years ago when it got under like 32 degrees for several hours and we were without power across the state. And of course, water has always been a problem here, especially here. You know, Water is scarce. Um, we have been trying for decades to get Mexico to abide by a treaty that was signed back when the horse and buggy was still around, right?
Right.
And I think that we keep on chasing that in hopes and anticipation that one day Mexico will just release us water. But I think that's kind of thinking a little backwards. You know, I know that there was efforts a few years ago, controversial efforts to build a gas-fired power plant here in the city of Brownsville, and it didn't come to fruition. As you know, um, there was an increase in rates, but at the end of the day, not because somebody wanted to keep the money, but the fact that the environment, the business conditions changed where it became cheaper to go and buy electricity once again. Because what a lot of people don't know is that electricity on any given day gets traded just like stocks.
Right.
It goes across the wires, there's buyers
Mhm.
and sellers, and for a while it was expensive. So looking at a 5, 10, 20 year outlay down the road, there was a study that was done that pretty much said we needed to look for alternative sources of energy up to fuel 400,000 houses in the future. And the only way to do that was to look at investing in building a plant.
Mhm.
Obviously, the conditions changed, energy became cheaper,
Mhm.
negating the need to build a plant. Unfortunately, 2 years down it went 2 years where the rates that increased continued. And it got a lot of people upset. I don't think
Yeah.
we have to go through the whole story, but we're back at this again.
Mhm.
Not because of the need to power 400,000 homes, but the mere fact is that now we're in a race to attract the high-tech jobs of the future. Not only just the high-tech jobs of the future, but job creators in general that will
Yeah.
not move to the area if we don't have the right infrastructure in place. It's great to have roads. It's great to have drainage. It's great to have sewage. And that's all great. But that's not going to be the main driver when it comes to a job creator deciding whether to relocate to the area or not. The very first thing they're going to look at, besides educational opportunities, is do they have the capacity to support my stamping press,
Mhm.
my auto assembly line? Do they have the electrical capacity? Right? If they can't produce the energy, I'm not relocating there. You add data centers now, and now you're talking about an extensive amount of cooling. It's not enough to air cool all these servers sitting in a data center that are running these GPUs that are allowing you to chat GPT, Grok, and God knows what else, right? It requires water cooling, which
Mhm.
means that there's a necessity for water in the billions of gallons. Well,
Right.
obviously, we don't have billions of gallons around.
Right.
What do you think we should do in the future? I've talked about small nuclear reactors. There's a lot of them powering a lot of our military installations today. And there's also desalinization that we've kind of explored a little bit here, just a little bit. What do you think we need to do? Because it appears that Harlingen is moving forward with allocating this acreage. They haven't asked
Mhm.
the county for any help or abatement or assistance whatsoever. But if the city of Harlingen is not prepared to handle, then you're going to experience a couple of things. You're going to experience a reduction of electricity being available, which means more blackouts, and you're going to also have water scarcity, which means that your electrical rates will go up and your water rates are up.
Mhm.
What do you think we need to do? And should we really, really ask the hard questions when it comes to chasing some of these opportunities? I mean, we don't want to lose the opportunity to attract high tech jobs, but obviously, this is part of infrastructure. Far more important this day and age.
So I think that that goes back to, one of our previous questions, which goes back to economic growth. It needs to be responsible. I think if we grow too fast, we don't have that foundation yet. And for me, though, I do want to say this, the foundation that I do want to focus on, at least for this next 4 years is it the those things, the data centers that you just spoke about, I think that'd be something to look at. But again, we don't have those resources yet. I want to go back to be honest with you, Mr. Salinas, I do want to go back to some of the things that I know after working with them for a long time and doing research and talking to a lot of people. Our roads, our bridges, our drainage, are things that need to be fixed first before we start looking at these huge things. We need to take care of those folks, and we need to take care of that, in my mind, first before we start building bigger things. It's just that's a foundation of where we are. We are just talking about, our flooding that we have in our area. We're leagues behind, and not because of anybody's fault in particular. We have, when you look at the flooding here that we have in Cameron County, we have multiple issues that affect it, right? First and foremost, as we continue to build and we take away the trees, the grass, and everything else, that water doesn't have really a place to soak up anymore. Now it needs a place to go. So as we continue to grow, build houses, build businesses, build data centers, and those type of issues, that issue is going to get worse. And now we've neglected that further to build other things, right? So safety is huge for me. As a public health and an emergency manager, those things are super important for me, is safety, life safety. And we have an incredible Office of Emergency Management and first responders here, but that's taking a toll on them every time we have some type of flooding incident or disaster here in the area. And so I want to go back to making sure that we work together. Let me rewind. So when it comes to the flooding issues, there's a lot of things. We have multiple drainage districts in Cameron County, right? They all have their own plan. There's talks right now about trying to get a master plan that everybody can get on the same page on, right?
I've heard
The
about
issue
that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
See, and that's the thing, is that everyone has to get on the same page. Water, it doesn't care about what jurisdiction it goes into, or if it's city or county, or we're talking about some of these cross with the irrigation districts. We have some individuals sometimes who say, you know what, the resaca in the backyard, which is part of, giving us relief from flooding. Their property goes halfway, they're going to build a dam. It's happened before, and so now we have a whole massive amount of issues that are piling up, just for this. And I think that before we start considering all these big things, we need to look at that first. Everything goes downhill from there. So uh, again, as we continue to build more infrastructure, less greenery, we're going to have more flooding going forward unless we start to continue to upgrade, you know, and that infrastructure. And so that's been one of those things that's been falling behind a little bit more and more. And I think we need to focus on that as much as we can these next few years until we start getting these, bigger types of facilities or, data centers and things like that. I'm not saying that these are bad ideas by any means, Mr. Salinas. I'm just saying that our foundation needs to be strong in order for us to put these things on top of it. And I think that the some of our roads and bridges have been left behind for a little bit too long, and we need to focus our or put focus back onto that.
Right. So hypothetically, if the city of Harlingen and whoever this company is, and by the way, we don't even know who the company is they came to the county next year and you were seated as a commissioner and they came and asked for an abatement, what would be your response at the time? Would it be no, maybe, not at this time, without further study?
I need more information in front of me, right?
Yeah,
And also two things. One, I would need more information in front of me to see how it affects everybody. And
right,
two, I don't think that big decisions like this should be based on one person like myself. I think
yeah,
that this is a community decision or at least a council decision or a group of people who are subject matter experts in the area. We need to sit down, we need to talk and figure out what the best thing going forward is for the community as a whole. Now, my job, at least for me, for the position I'm running for, is to make sure that the values that are important, that I maintain those values going forward. I don't pretend to be an expert in anything, but I do know that in order to be successful in this job, and I think what people are looking for today versus, maybe in the past, is that I think people are looking more for character. I think people are looking more for someone who they can believe, who they can trust, put trust back in the government again because they're open and transparent and have that communication. I think that is what's important, and the ability of that person, that leader, to listen to the community, to listen to our stakeholders. I think that is one of the major things that we need to, or that I would need to focus on going forward, because I can't pretend that I'm a subject matter expert in just flooding or in, these data centers. I haven't been in that, right? I need to ask questions. I need to understand what the repercussions of having this, the positives, the negatives, and weigh it, right? And in order to, do that, I'd need a little bit more information. So I would say maybe, right?
right.
Maybe it really, I need more information to make a educated decision.
That's fair. Yeah. Let's move on to another topic: taxes and property values. As you know, taxes and property values is another hot item. They've gone up in the area, but not just in the area, they've gone up everywhere. SpaceX or no SpaceX, you know, property values have gone up here, they've gone up in McAllen, they've gone up in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas. SpaceX isn't there, right? So this notion that SpaceX was responsible for an increase in property taxes um, and values, that's just a farce. There's many other reasons for that, including COVID, by the way. But there's a lot of candidates out there running right now at the county level that apparently claim they're going to lower taxes. Now, let's be honest. Some of those candidates can't touch that area even if they wanted to. They have no control over that, right? Um, what do you think we need to do to address some of the concerns that the citizens do have, right? Taxes are too high. Property values have gone up. Now, keep in mind that the only people griping about property values are those that aren't selling a home, right? Those that are selling homes are happy that the values are up because they're going to make a ton of money when they sell it.
Sure,
It's not the
sure.
guys selling the houses that are complaining. It's the ones that are getting their tax bill every May from the appraisal district, right?
Yeah.
And we just went through an election, right? We elected 4 people supposedly that were going to help the appraisal board supposedly lower our taxes. Um, I haven't seen a decrease yet, right? But what have you heard about property taxes? What have you heard about property values out there? What do you think we need to do to address? Because there's a lot of folks out there that are on fixed incomes. We have a lot of elderly folks out there on fixed incomes. Um, what can we do, if anything? I mean, let's be honest. We may not be able to do anything, and that's perfectly a fine answer too. You know,
Yeah, the cost of living has gone up, right? And people's salaries are not catching up to that, right? And all of that leaks back to this. And so I want to do say this though, Mr. Salinas. I right now, because I mean, with me and my family, and I think about my friends too, like there's a lot of folks right now that really, really have a tight budget. I mean, tight budget. And the last thing that I want to do is make decisions that increase our taxes here in Cameron County. I don't want that right now. I think that we have to be good stewards of people's taxpayers' money and what they're giving us now, and use it to our best ability and not make any type of decisions that's going to increase that. That's just something that I feel strongly about. And so answering your question though about property taxes, it goes back to the fact that every single thing is more expensive right now. It's not just more expensive for people, it's also more expensive for government to maintain, right? Everything that they have to maintain. Those prices have slowly gone up over time because of that. And so, you know, there's we have to work together. This is not a one thing that Joseph Lucio can do, right? Like as soon as I get in, I'm going to stop. I'm going to bring it back down. It's a whole community
right,
group effort, communicating with all the leaders here in Cameron County and more and beyond. It's
right.
beyond that to try and bring those things down. We can advocate that, but it's not as simple as just flipping a switch and saying that. It's so much more than that. So that's the one thing I do want to say, Mr. Salinas, though, is that again, going forward and being your next Cameron County Commissioner for Precinct 2, and the decisions and the mindset that I have is that if I have to tighten my belt here at home with my family, and I know a lot of other people are, so should the government. So should the
Yeah.
government. And so we have to make sure that we're being good stewards of your taxpayer dollars, and we're cutting any type of waste that might be happening, and look at that closely. And I'm not going to say exactly what that might be. I have to look a lot more closely at those things going on, but that is my mindset right now, and that's what I want to do.
And one thing I wanted to ask the county judge last night, and I didn't get an opportunity because there's tons of things I like to ask, and I just didn't get around to it. But there was another hot topic. It's been a hot topic several times, and it has to do with salary increases. There's been many attempts over the last year, maybe 2, by the existing commissioners court to give themselves a pay raise. And let's be fair, it wasn't just a pay raise for them, but it was a pay raise countywide. And there are employees that obviously are in need of a pay raise. Well, we all are in need of a pay raise. Let's face it. It doesn't matter whether
Everybody
it's
is.
the top person or the person at the bottom. Everybody needs a pay raise. And there was a lot of, you know, upsetness because people felt that if they didn't get a pay raise, our elected officials shouldn't go out there and get a pay raise. What's your take on that? If that topic were to come up again and you were sitting in the chair, what would be your approach to with regards to pay raises? Who should get them first? Who should get them last?
So that's a great question, Mr. Salinas, and that is definitely a topic that we should definitely discuss. So my worldview, my philosophy about leadership and about public service and putting yourself in this position that I'm about to put myself into is about sacrifice. It's supposed to be about sacrifice. This isn't about me for personal gain. It's not supposed to be about me, so I can, make a whole bunch of money on the side over here. That's not what this was supposed to be about. This is about taking care of the people. And so that means if you have that mindset, then those raises that were, being implemented should have started with everybody else except Cameron County leadership. That should have started with everybody else. Cameron County employees are the backbone of Cameron County. They're the ones out there in the front lines. They're the ones that are doing the hard work out there. And that is, to me, those are the people you should be taking care of first, always, right? We should be very last at the end of the day. I understand that we still do hard work. We have long hours, and that's not easy. I can tell you right now that if I'm elected to be your next Cameron County Commissioner for Precinct 2, that is the full-time job that I'm going to give everybody for Cameron County. I don't have any side gigs. I don't have any side hustles or anything like that. I don't have another job that's distracting me. I have, besides, being a good husband and a father to my two kids, of course, that's a job, right? But you know what I'm saying. I don't have another job that's bringing in, funds or monetary funds. I think that for this position, you should be focused exclusively on that position for the next 4 years, right? And so to answer your question, I wholeheartedly disagreed with that. It's not just, I know you said that the rest of the employees got a pay raise too, but not near the percentage that our current Cameron County leadership got.
Yeah.
Not even near. Okay.
Yeah.
So to me, that obviously leaves a bad taste in all the Cameron County employees, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. That's
Yeah.
not something that it's not something that we should be doing. I think that, again, these employees and these staff members, you need to be taking care of them first. If you want to be a leader, it's sacrifice. You have to do everything in your power to give your staff, your employees, all the tools, all the training and everything that they need to be successful. If they're successful, Cameron County's successful. You don't want to show up to an office to a person who's upset. They don't want to be there. They're getting paid 29,000, for the year. They're upset. They're like, okay, I can't wait till Friday, right? That's always a thing.
Right.
Ooh, I can't wait till Friday. And people are coming in, next, come on. They're not smiling. They're not happy. That's not what we want for Cameron County. That's a reflection of our leadership. And um, so no, to answer your question, I don't think that should have ever taken place. That's not something that I would have approved on or approved if I was a Cameron County Commissioner. We have to take care of our staff first and foremost. And if you look at my platform, you look at, one of the very first things on my push cards, it's taking care of our Cameron County staff because I'm passionate about that. I was a Cameron County staff member. I've had many family members that are staff, Cameron County staff, and we know a lot of people who work within Cameron County, and we need to do more for them.
Well, I was about to offer you a co-hosting job on one of my podcasts. So I guess if you win, I guess that throws my plans out the door.
Hey, I'm always open for discussion, man. I'm
All
always
right.
open
Well,
for
definitely, if you win, you're an invited guest all the time. So,
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Salinas.
All right. Volunteer, of course, because I'm a poor podcaster.
Yes, sir. No worries. No worries.
One of the things that I wanted to cover, three things, but obviously two things, is I want to cover the topic of county bridge tolls. I used to work 35 years ago for Maquiladora in Matamoros, and I crossed every day, right? Every day, back and forth, and we have to pay our bridge tolls to do that, right? And back in those days, bridge tolls were $1.50, maybe $2. I have no idea what they are. I think I've heard they're like $5, maybe $7. I have no idea what they are. But obviously, we've got plans to acquire the B&M bridge. And I believe the toll rates there were a lot cheaper than they were in some of the other port of entries. I believe they were. I could be wrong. Like I said, it's been years since I've crossed into Mexico.
Yeah.
Um, what can you tell us about holding those tolls down? Um, it's an expense, for a lot of people to go back and forth, pay $5, maybe even higher.
Mhm.
Um, Additionally, uh, county park fees. One of the most annoying things is to have to go to Isla Blanca Park or Andy Bowie or any of the other parks, get to the toll booth, and find out that they only accept cash. $12, I think it's at Isla Blanca. No debit
Yeah.
cards, no credit
Yeah.
cards, no cash app, no tap. It's like going back to the third world. What can we do to improve that? Because obviously it causes a lot of people to not be able to turn right back and not enjoy a day at the beach because they don't have $12. There's a lot of people that don't use cash. I'm one of them. You couldn't find a dollar on me or a penny. Well, pennies don't exist anymore, right? But you know what I'm saying. It's annoying. What can we do? How can we hold these toll bridges rates down? I'm not asking for a finite commitment for toll bridge rates, but definitely I think we need to improve the method of payment down at the county park level.
So I agree wholeheartedly. There's a few things I want to talk to you about this. So to me, Mr. Salinas, it's a no-brainer. I have never understood why we don't have these methods, besides the fact that there's fees associated with using credit cards and debit cards. But also it's like you said, how many people have been turned away just because we don't have an easy accessible way to pay?
Right.
To answer your question simply, yes, I would definitely be advocating for us to get with the times. It's 2026. We need to make sure we have credit card readers, debit card readers, tap and goes. It's for the ease of our, the people going to the parks, right? And so that just again, that's an easy one for me. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't understand why we don't have that. I could definitely dig a little bit more and see what the real reason is, but I don't see a logical explanation um, right now. There isn't a logical explanation to me as to
You
why
know,
we don't. And on top
as
of that,
yeah,
I also want to add that, going back to, taking care of our staff for Cameron County and parks, you know, I also don't understand why we don't, give more benefits to the folks who work for Cameron County. There's no discounts for any of the staff that go in, even a small minimal one. That's something that's been brought up and is something that's been, denied over and over again. I think we need to, make sure that we give these folks a reason to want to work for Cameron County. Those again, that's a no-brainer, a simple one for me. And so, but anyways, I we got to get some credit card readers in there.
yeah,
That's pretty straightforward for me. I rarely carry cash,
yeah,
rarely, and it is an inconvenience to have to go to the bank or to an ATM. I get it. I get
yeah,
it. So as long as we have both options to pay cash, pay with your credit card, debit card, then hey, then we're good to go.
yeah. Definitely. I mean, if the guy selling lemonade at the farmers market can accept Cash App, I think the county can too, somehow. I'll even give him
Everybody.
my hey, I'll even give him my Cash App ID. I'll gladly do that.
No, for sure. And also to be honest with you, I feel like, it's also a safety issue. On your busiest summer days, the busiest summer days out there, and we have all these different stalls, right, all the way to beach access 6, right? We have a single individual that's holding a wad of cash,
Right.
right? Like just a huge wad of cash. And to me, that's a safety concern, a liability
Right.
that we need to look closely at. And again, these things have been brought up before. We haven't changed that yet. It's to me, it's a common sense fix that we need to work on.
Yeah. Well, I know that I promised 45 minutes, but I think we've gone beyond 45 minutes, which is fine. It's not a
No
problem,
worries.
you know. But one of the things I wanted to give you is an opportunity as the last question, and I promise this is the last one, is I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell the viewers out there what makes you different from the rest of your opponents, both on the Democratic side as well as the Republican side in November. What makes you different when it comes to how you will serve if you've got the opportunity to be our next county commissioner for Precinct 2?
Great question. So here's what I would say to that. Now, I am a Lucio, right? I am part of the greater Lucio family. I think a lot of folks
You kind of look familiar.
actually, yeah, yes. There's a lot of folks who actually don't know that yet. There's a lot of folks who do. Whether they're for us against us, it doesn't matter. We're a big family. I love my family very much, but we're all uniquely different. What makes me different specifically is it goes back to the way that my mom and dad raised me. My mom and dad, Robert and Deanna Lucio. They're uniquely different also from the rest of my family. And one of the things that they did right before I was born, was they traveled all across the United States. And one of the things that they did that they really loved was they actually traveled to a lot of Native American reservations. And as you can tell from the decor behind me, right, they traveled a lot. And they not only do I have the culture here in 956, right, 956 Hispanic culture and everything that comes with being born and raised in Brownsville and in the RGV, but I've also adopted a few other cultures along the way as well. Just looking at my name, for example, my name's Joseph Lakota Lucio, right? My middle name's
Oh,
Lakota.
wow.
First name is Joseph, actually, for Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce.
Oh,
Lakota, of
wow.
course, is for the Lakota nations and all the Lakota tribes in the northern part of the United States. There's many different tribes that are Lakota, and part of that growing up actually was that I adopted part of that culture. And there's one word and phrase that I wanted to share with you and share with everybody, and this is my worldview. The word is mitkuye oyasin. In Lakota, that means all my relations. That's what the translation means. But what it actually means is we are all related. The people, all the living beings on this earth, the animals, the planet, everything. We're all related. If one of us goes down, technically we all go down, right? And I think it's important, and you can do research on that phrase if you like. For anyone who's listening, please do research on it because we can be here and have a lecture just on that. Um, Mitguyo Yasin is an important word for me because I think, or I know, it brings balance to the decisions that I make. Because when I think about something, I think about the greater good. I think about everyone involved, Democrat, Republican, everybody, right? From all different realms, whether you believe in SpaceX or you don't believe in SpaceX, whatever it is, I'm trying my best to balance everything out as much as I can because I think that if we all rise, if one of us rises, I want us all to rise together, and that's important for me. So I think that makes me a little bit different, my worldview and the way that I view the world and the people of this world and how I want to lead and the decisions that I want to make all fall back to that word, that phrase, and my worldview. And I just want to do my best to take care of as many people as I can across the board, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. And so, I have I'm lucky enough to have a lot of support from my family to get a lot of, knowledge and experience from them. And I'm just really looking forward to having the opportunity to serve everybody here in Cameron County, Precinct 2, but greater Cameron County. And I hope you give me the opportunity to do that.
All righty. Well, when is the start of early voting and how far does it go? And
February 17th for a couple weeks. So that's like the first day. So February 17th is going to be, you know, it's going to be early voting. Then sorry, I'm having brain fart now. March 3rd is a
yeah.
primary. So those are the dates to remember. Please go out and vote. At the end of the day, for everyone who's listening today, I really want to make sure you understand when you vote, you have a voice. That voice does matter, right? It's important that you do your research on all your candidates. It's important that, you go out there and do your best to make the most informed decision you can. And Mr. Salinas, you're helping people by doing that. So I appreciate the opportunity for being here today. Um, and I hope the what I talked about today, the words that I spoke, convince you to, vote for me. But if you have more questions, please reach out to me. You can find me on my social media page. I right now have Facebook and Instagram, so please message me. I would love the opportunity to speak with you and get to know you a little bit more, hear about your concerns, and work on work on this campaign and work on better Cameron County.
And just to clear up any confusion, I know it happens all the time. Is only Precinct 2 voters able to vote for you, or is this a countywide? And by the way, you're running as a Democrat, right? Also.
Yes, sir, that's correct. So, Precinct 2 is the majority of Brownsville, all of Olmito, and all of Rancho Viejo. I say majority of Brownsville because it's not all of it. When you go to the southmost area to where the airport is, that's Precinct 1 with Miss Sofia Benavides. That's not my precinct that I'm running for. So you do have to live in my precinct in order to vote for me. And so if you don't live in the precinct, you want to vote for me, that's fine. I'm sure you got family and friends in precinct 2. Please let them know about me, and that would be fantastic. And yes, to answer your question, Mr. Salinas, I am running as a Democrat for sure. And, I do want to let everybody know that, I'm running as a Democrat, and I believe, again, when it comes to balance, I've chosen the Democratic Party, because most of my values still are in the Democratic Party for the most part, not all, but most of them. And so they mostly represent, the decisions that I've made and how I want to move forward as well.
Well, the reason I brought it up was because I'll tell you that it always happens every time there's an election that a Republican shows up and they get the wrong ballot and that they're angry because they're not going to get the ballot they wanted or they're in the
Yeah.
wrong precinct. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that people understand that you've got to live in the precinct to vote for the
Yes.
person running in the precinct. And if you're a Republican, go to your voting booth or voting area, as well as for Democrats as well. Don't show up in the Republican primary, please.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. So, I mean, when it comes to primary voting, right, for all the viewers today, if you're voting in a primary, you have to choose that ballot, right? Democratic,
Right.
Republican. You have to choose one, and then you're able to vote for those candidates, on
Yeah.
those ballots. So,
In November,
just
it's a
just
whole
FYI.
different ball game. Right. November,
Yes,
it's
and
a
in
whole different
November, the
ball game.
general election's a whole different ball game. You can be voting for Democrats, Republicans, Independents, doesn't matter, what you do. But it is definitely different. There's a lot of candidates that are currently running in different races right now, which is good because that means people
Yeah.
are stepping up and everybody has options. And I believe that that's great for democracy in general. So the more people we have out there, the more choice we have, and I think that's fantastic.
All right, Mr. Lucio. Well, I hope I wasn't too hard on you. I know that I
No, not at
enjoy
all.
having these conversations. It's great to have somebody that's young and running and willing to put themselves out there. Um, After all, everyone, this is our home. It's not just my home, it's Mr. Lucio's home and everyone else's home. And we're all part of the same team, despite the fact we may be of different parties, different ideologies, we're still part of the same team. And we're all trying to get to the same goal, to build a brighter and better future for our children, their children, and generations down the road. And so it is our civic responsibility to get out there, make your voice heard, get out there and vote, because we are trying to build a future for all of us. So get out there and vote. As I've always said, you can't complain if you don't go out there to vote. Mr. Lucio, thank
Amen.
you. And once again, you're always invited, win or lose. And I'm serious. I'm looking for a co-host. So if, you decide down the road you want to pop in, just give me a holler.
Sounds good, Mr. Salinas. Thank you again for this opportunity to get everybody to know me a little bit more. Definitely looking forward to the race. And again, please follow me if you're interested. Reach out if you want to know a little bit more about our campaign or platform. But again, thank you all for your time who are watching today. Thank you, Mr. Salinas, again for this opportunity. I hope you have a great night. We'll see you out there.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Give me 1 second while I shut everything down.